On Friday, we learned from the unsealing of a Justice Department search warrant that it is an inquiry under the Espionage Act that led the FBI to execute a search warrant at former President Trump's property in South Florida last week. I mean, it's an amazing thing. Files seized from former president are part of Espionage Act inquiry. I mean, go back in time and try to convince your grandparents and your great-grandparents that this is the America that we inherited from them. Files seized from former president, part of Espionage Act inquiry. What it meant specifically when we learned that is that search warrant that they unsealed cited a portion of the Espionage Act that concerns the handling of national security information that could harm the United States or help our enemies. To get even more specific, what it means is that, to get that warrant to search Trump's house in Florida, prosecutors had to prove to the satisfaction of a federal judge that there was probable cause to believe that at Trump's home, they would find evidence that part of the Espionage Act had been violated, that crime had been committed. Now, the first question that raised for many of us was, the really first question was like, is this real? Am I dead? Is this actually my life? Next question was, is that it? Is this the end of it? Certain specificity to the question of whether that search warrant might itself have been the end of the matter. By which I mean, were they using the search warrant to collect that material that Trump wasn't supposed to have? But then, basically, once they've retrieved the material from him, is it basically case closed? The New York Times put it this way last week in print. They said, quote, "It is not clear whether the search was carried out simply to ensure that the documents and other material were properly turned over to the archives, or whether it was a possible precursor to a prosecution of Mr. Trump for mishandling classified materials or obstructing efforts to get it back." In other words, did federal prosecutors get that search warrant because they believed that Trump wasn't handing over all the sensitive material that he had, so they used the warrant basically to just go get the stuff back by force, and now that's it, that's the end of it, that's as far as they wanted to go? Or did they go get the material using a search warrant as part of an investigation that is not over now that they've got the stuff, that is pointing in the end toward possible criminal charges for whoever is responsible for this breach? Which is it? Was the search warrant just to get the stuff, or was the search warrant to lead to a potential criminal case? Well, in a filing tonight in federal court, the Justice Department explains that it's the latter, that it is not over now that they've gone and snatched back all the classified and top secret information that the former president inexplicably had stashed in his basement. Tonight, in a filing explaining to the court why the Justice Department doesn't want to release further information about their case at this time, the Justice Department says in this filing that the search warrant wasn't the end of it, that it's just part of an ongoing investigation. They use that term repeatedly. Quote, "Here, the government has a compelling overriding interest in preserving the integrity of an ongoing criminal investigation." Quote, "Disclosure at this juncture of the affidavit supporting probable cause would cause significant and irreparable damage to this ongoing criminal investigation." Quote, "If disclosed, the affidavit would serve as a roadmap to the government's ongoing investigation, providing specific details about its direction and likely course in a manner that is highly likely to compromise future investigative steps." That's all in the Justice Department's court filing tonight. And what we learned from that court filing is that the Justice Department is expecting further investigative steps. They are contemplating further investigative steps in what they repeatedly describe as an ongoing criminal investigation. An ongoing criminal investigation, quote, "that implicates national security." So, again, one of the main questions about what is going on here is now answered by the Justice Department's filing this evening. The point of that search warrant last week was not just to go and get the stuff, and now they've got it. It can be safely put back under lock and key and case closed. No, the search warrant, we now know, was to get that stuff, but it is also part of an ongoing criminal investigation that could lead to criminal charges. An ongoing criminal investigation involving the Espionage Act and the former president, which is astonishing. And for him, of course, that's bad.